Hello, hi, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a June wrap-up. June consistently seems to be my absolute worst month of reading. I have no idea why. I don't know if it's because it's the start of my least favorite season, summer, and it just depresses me and I don't want to read, or the sun has just exhausted me by the end of the day, but yeah, if I look back like on previous years, June just tends to be the month where I'm like, no, thank you. But I did manage to get 3 books done thanks to a 9-hour jury selection one day. So I did finish 3. So let's get into it. I've got my helpers, Lucy and Kate. They're right down here. They may pop up at any moment. So we'll see. The first book that I read this month, or last month rather, was The Vanishing Days by Susanna Kearsley. This is the 3rd book in the Scottish series. The first book, The Winter Sea, was about a girl called Sophia who lived in the early 1700s, and she goes to live at this castle in Scotland. And she meets this guy, John, who is a wanted Jacobite, and they have this forbidden romance that nobody can know about because he is a wanted man. And if they found out, they would use her, torture her to get to him. So this book it's almost like a prequel because it does take place before the first book. But it does involve the same characters. So this is about a guy called Adam, who is a soldier in Scotland in the early 1700s. And he has been tasked with doing an inquiry for this woman, Lily, who is claiming that she was married to a sailor called Jamie. And she's looking to collect the wages that he was owed after he died like 7 years ago. And so Adam's job is to basically make sure that Jamie and Lily's marriage was real, so that he's not just giving money for like a fake marriage. I gave this book 3 stars. It was incredibly disappointing. I was very much interested in Lily's story. There was some shocking twists that was like enraged me. Like I was like, I could not believe that actually happened to her. But the biggest thing that really irritated me, I guess, was in the beginning of the book, for not even just the beginning, the first half of the book, I thought that this was going to be a love story between Jamie and Lily. I thought it was going to be like childhood best friends to lovers. I was very excited. I was very invested. And yeah, no, that's not what this was. I was convinced that, because the whole book is literally trying to prove that Jamie and Lily were actually together and married, and they go through Lily's entire life. And her backstory with Jamie starting from when she was like 7, and it's so cute and it made me ship them so hard. The first half of the book, like I was just loving it. I was eating it up. I was convinced that Jamie wasn't actually dead. I thought that Adam was actually Jamie. Like I basically had this whole thing in my head based on the previous 2 books and the twists that had happened in those. And so when I got to this, got like 50% into it, was shipping the shit out of Jamie and Lily. And then it was like, actually, there's this guy, Matthew, and he's the real love of Lily's life. And that's what this book is about. What? No. I think this was like literally my face. I was like, no, I don't want it. No, thank you. Like, I'm already invested in Jamie and Lily. I don't care about Matthew and Lily. And it was like 50% into the book. Like, what? I was already invested. No, I didn't want it. And it really killed the romance for me after that. And the romance is such a huge part of this book that I just did not care. Like, Lily's life interested me. I wanted to finish it to find out what happened with her. But I just could not have cared less about the romance after they basically said, like, yeah, this is about Matthew, not Jamie. Did not care. Did not care. I will say though that Patrick, who's been in all 3 books, he still remains to be my favorite character. If this series continues, I will continue it because I know that Patrick will be in it and he continues to be the best thing in all the books. But yeah, once the romance died for me, this book died. It was my least favorite of the series so far. It was just, yeah, it was not the book that I thought that I was getting halfway through. No, thank you. The next book more than made up for it. So I read A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And you're probably like, why is she doing this to herself, right? Because if you know me, you know that I was so obsessed with the original series of this. So this is the spin-off prequel series. So the first book in a new series, but it is a prequel series of the original. So the original is the Blood and Ash series. The first book from Blood and Ash it's a fantasy, obviously. It's about a girl called Poppy. She's the maiden. She's the chosen one. But she doesn't have much of a life because nobody's allowed to see her. Nobody's allowed to talk to her. She's not allowed to talk to anyone. So she's kind of living like a half-life. And one day she gets a new guard, Hawk, and they have like a very antagonistic sort of relationship. But he's really the only one who is allowed to see her, talk to her, know her. And so as she gets to know him, she kind of starts to become more aware of like the world around her and the lies that she's been told her whole life. And anyway, so there is, in the third book, they kind of The Crown of Gilded Bones. They kind of delve more into Poppy's backstory of like her ancestors. And that is what this series is about. So this series is about Poppy's, I want to say her grandmother. There was no family tree, but I'm pretty sure it's her grandmother if I remember correctly. So this one is about a girl called Sarah. And she is also the maiden, the chosen. Kate, come back and lay down. Come here. Come back and lay down. Good girl. So she is also the maiden, the chosen one. I believe the first of a long string of them. So she is the first. And she has known her entire life that she is basically going to be sacrificed when she is 17 to this primal. And like a primal is higher than a god. And because of a bargain that her ancestor like 200 years ago made. So she's known since she was, born that she was going to be sacrificed when she was 17. And so because of this, like she's not really allowed to have relationships with anyone. No one's really allowed to know who she is because they might like kill her before she's 17. And so like her own mother doesn't even claim her. She doesn't have friends. Like it's terrible. She's also living a half-life. Her entire life, she's just been training to be this seductress and this weapon because she's supposed to kill this primal in order to like sever the deal. And but then she will surely be killed for killing someone that high and powerful. So her 17th birthday comes around, she's all dressed up, ready to be sacrificed, and the primal shows up and he's like, yeah, no, I have no use for a wife, no thank you, and leaves. And she's the only one who heard him. And so like her family and everybody in the kingdom's like, what did you do? Like, what's so wrong with you? Like, you're such a failure. Like, you're one thing you were supposed to do and you failed. And so for like 3 years, like she's not fed, she's not clothed, like nobody wants anything to do with her. And one day she is just kind of like, well, whatever, like I'm useless, so I'm going to be reckless. And she stumbles across this murder. and she's like horrified and she wants to stop it. And she is stopped by this guy called Ash, who's like, what are you doing? You're gonna get yourself killed. And so Sarah and Ash, again, kind of have like an antagonistic relationship, but they team up to kind of figure out who is committing these murders and why. And Ash is kind of the first person that she's able to have any sort of relationship with, like a friendship. I mean, it does turn romantic, obviously, but just even like a friendship with, until the truth starts coming out about what's going on. That was a long explanation, but like, I mean, I hope you could tell. I was obsessed with this. This is 5 stars. I was obsessed. I didn't want to like this. I didn't even want to read this because the original series with Poppy went downhill so quickly. Like, it's so off the rails. I've literally not even read the 4th book because I've been spoiled, and like, no, thank you. So I was like, why do I want to get invested in another one? But I'm so glad that I did because I loved it so much. Like, I literally loved it so much. This is absolutely like one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. Like, I'm obsessed. Way more than I was with From Blood and Ash. So much more. So this definitely has like hints of From Blood and Ash, obviously, because Sarah is like the original chosen one, the original maiden. So it definitely has hints of like Poppy's story, but you know, it's like when you go out to read a fic and you're like, oh my God, that was so good. I want to read one that's just like it, but like slightly different. That's what this is, but it's like the better version. Ash, oh my God, Ash is perfect. Ash is perfect. I love him. I love him. This is a man all about consent. We love to see it. Ash is literally perfect. Like, he made this book. He made this book. Hawk Castile, who? No, Ash. Obsessed. 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 Oh my gosh. I literally finished this and like immediately went looking for fics. It was so good. I couldn't. I'm scared though. Like, I'm absolutely terrified of continuing this series. Did I already pre-order the 2nd book? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. But I'm scared that it's gonna go off the rails because I loved this. Like, there was nothing in this that I was like, yeah, no, thank you. But I'm scared that, because I felt similarly, well, I did like this more than From Blood and Ash, but I felt similarly when I read the 1st book of that series, and then it just kind of went, so I'm really scared to continue this, but like, this book is, it's perfect. It was perfect for me. Like, I absolutely loved it. Hello to my new obsession. Like, I love it so much. I love it so much. This is like From Blood and Ash, but better. That's the best way I can tell. It's so good. It's so good. Like, I need more Ash and Sarah. I need it. I want it. Like, I'm so obsessed. And then the last book that I read on my 9-hour jury selection day was Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. So this is another fantasy, obviously, the 1st book in a series. And I went in knowing absolutely nothing. I knew it was a fantasy, but I had no idea what it was about, how many books were even in the series. I knew there was like prequel novellas, and I was not about to go Throne of Glass and read those first, which thankfully I did not. But are there 4? Are there 5? I'm not even sure. I'm still not sure. But anyway, so this one is about a girl called Mare, and she lives in a world where there are silvers and reds. And silvers are humans, but they have like, are they God? They think of themselves as gods with like special abilities, and they bleed silver. But they have like special abilities. So this book, before we go to, this book was like the Hunger Games meets Shadow and Bone. So they have a lot of powers like the Grishaverse, where like they can control water, lightning, or they have like really like massive strength. stuff like that. So they have special abilities. And because of that, they think that they can reign over reds, who are just normal humans, obviously, that bleed red. And so the reds live in like these terrible conditions while the silvers like reign supreme. And Mare, naturally, is a red. And she has like a disastrous day where she tries to save her little sister and her best friend, Kalorn, and it just goes terribly wrong. And now she's horrified because they're all going to have to join the army, which, you know, they're fighting a war that basically just guarantees they're going to die. And so one day she runs into this guy, Cal, who is just very kind and is like, I can get you a job so you don't have to go into the army. And Mare's like, oh my gosh, yes, like, please. And like, she's like, maybe I can get one for Kalorn and he won't have to go either. And like, she's just so excited. So she goes to the palace for her job as like a servant, basically. And she finds out two things while she's working. One, that Cal is actually a prince. And like, not just a prince, but like the prince that's going to be king. He's the next in line. And two, that she has special abilities, which is unheard of because reds are not supposed to have special abilities. And so because of this, she basically has to, the queen basically forces her to pretend that she is a silver so that the facade of like silvers reigning over reds doesn't just crumble. And it's so good. It's so good. This got 4 stars. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, it was like the Hunger Games meets Shadow and Bone, which I loved both of those. So, you know, obviously really, really loved this. But let's get down to this is, and the reason why I got 4 stars is because this is a love square rectangle. And you know I hate that. You know I hate that. This book was so good. I was so invested. I had no idea what was going to happen. But yeah, 100%. Because there's like, so there's Kalorn, who's like, he gave me such Gale vibes. But Kalorn, who's been Mare's friend since like the beginning, and he like hates silvers because of what they've done to reds, and like he just wants to kill them all, like literally such Gale vibes. And I think it was kind of assumed that like Mare and Kalorn were gonna like eventually get married and end up together. Again, Gale. And then you have Cal, who is the prince, and I loved Cal. I loved Cal so much. Like, in case you didn't know, Cal and Mare forever. Okay, that's where I ended up with this. So Cal is like very sympathetic to Mare. He wants to help. He doesn't agree with these conditions. But at the same time, he's grown up in a world where it's just been ingrained in him that like silvers reign supreme, and he doesn't know that he wants to like change things when he becomes king, because he's like, it'll just be a lot of death. Like, you can see he wants to change and he agrees with Mare, but at the same time, like, he just doesn't know how to go about it. He was very conflicted, but I thought that was very realistic and I really liked it. And the connection between Mare and Cal is so good. It's so good. And then you had the other point, Maven. Maven is Cal's younger half brother and the prince that is betrothed to Mare. So that was interesting. She was engaged to Maven, but had this connection with Cal and also a connection with Kalorn. I never liked Maven. I thought he was a snake in the grass. I was like, absolutely not. Like, no, like I did not trust him for one single second. Like at all. He was very jealous. He was very bitter of Cal, and his mother is the queen who set up this whole plan, who was like evil as shit. And everyone kept being like, Maven's his mother's son, and Mare would defend him. And I was like, oh no. I was like, no. Even if Maven is completely innocent, Kate! Even if Maven is completely innocent, I did not buy for one single second that the queen was just gonna stand by and like let Cal take the throne when her son was the next option. I was like, absolutely not. I did not trust Maven at all. I cannot wait to continue this series. Literally it got 4 stars because I don't like love triangles, and this was like a love square, but I loved everything about it. Like, I'm so excited to continue, and like, it was a good reading month. Like, after I finished the Vanished Days, I went on to read like 2 books that I just like really enjoyed and cannot wait to continue with. But yeah, so those were my June books that I read. And I pretty much had like a full scale. I had a 5, I had a 4, I had a 3. A Shadow in the Ember has my heart. But Red Queen, really enjoyed it. Can't wait to see where that goes. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to subscribe, please do. But yeah, hey, you guys want to sit up?